Hello, I'm Dr. Elizabeth Lloyd-Parkes and I'd like to deliver a paper to you today that explores the concept of storytelling and personal brand representation within the works of a Welsh artist, Nick Holly. While artists are generally said to denigrate their own business acumen, it is apparent from the commercial success of some living artists, Holly included, that they create a value exchange for their customers through their creative and imaginative works. Holly's work invariably includes components that are instantly visually attributable to him, and these elements have commonality with the concept of the brand logo, often used as a shorthand device to make products or organisations easily recognisable. Holly's paintings have elements which hold meaning for the viewer, semiotically depicting something that has meaning for both the artist and the viewer, but not always the same meaning, as the interpretation is not unidirectional, but the result of complex connections and associations between the individual, the objects represented within the paintings, and other environmental, cultural, and societal factors. The consumer's response to the semiotic elements of this art enables them to identify with the portrayal of the signs as part of social life and take pleasure from the imaginative journey on which this artwork takes them, perhaps evoking memories or longing, but definitely giving a deeper meaning to the story being told by the artist within the painting. Branding and the identification of market segments through semiotic communication come to the fore through this exploration, although this may be achieved instinctively rather than strategically by the artist. I have long admired the work of Swansea artist Nick Holly and have been fortunate to be able to own some of his original works. Known as the Welsh Lowry, his paintings are populated with figures reminiscent of L.S. Lowry's work, although they are situated not in the northern landscape, but in many cases on the beaches of the beautiful Gower Peninsula, the streets of Swansea, and other well-known Welsh landmarks. It is also possible that Holly has been influenced by another Welsh artist, formerly given the name the Welsh Lowry, Jack Jones, although Jones rejected this label, preferring him to call himself the Leonardo of the slag heap. Holly's paintings, though, are less grim than those that may have influenced his work, with a happy, feel-good aspect pervading his paintings. I often see a child's narrative within his work, scarves knitted by mum, holding dad's hand during a beach walk, a grandmother in a Welsh shawl, all reminiscent of my childhood and probably that of many others. Within these works, the diminutive figures and movement portrayed makes me think of a happy Lowry on Prozac. Nick Holly's definitive style also portrays scenes from his travels to such places as New York, featuring the famous big yellow taxis and fire hydrants, evoking a gritty impression of the places he paints, with urban landscapes and snapshots of people's lives seen through a very personal lens. Children at play, old men on holiday, families walking their dogs, spectators at a football match, a face at a window. Nick's paintings give an extraordinary insight into ordinary lives, telling stories without words, evoking emotions and memories, and transporting the viewer into a scenario that often has cultural touchpoints similar to their own experiences. The artist tells the story of his own childhood memories, evoking nostalgic experiences for the viewer of their own recollections. After all, who amongst us does not have fond memories of days at the seaside, playing snowballs or walking much-loved pets? Kite flying, sailing boats on the sea, washing lines and the like are, for me at least, happy memories full of sentiment and emotion. Conjuring such reflection and memory through imagery is a skill. It is, pun intended, an art. It is possible that artists do not consider themselves primarily as serious business players, although through creativity and imagination, they certainly create value in a dynamic world and are able, through their work, to change perceptions of the world through impactful communication that goes beyond words. Value creation is exceptionally important for contemporary competitive business, and artists, above all others perhaps, are in possession of the creativity and imagination that can contribute significantly to these components of commercial success. There are commonalities to be seen between large companies and artistry, where organisations can be said to resemble a somewhat complex orchestra with a leader or conductor bringing together the component parts. Artists do the same on a somewhat micro level to create a piece of work where the individual elements come together to form a harmonious and beautiful whole. So let us take a look at some examples of how this is achieved by my favourite artist. Nick Holly's work is instantly recognisable, of that there is no doubt, and there are reasons for this. The explanation is fixed firmly in the realms of branding, a construct and a marketing tool that is rarely considered within the context of producing art, even if the artists themselves use the technique subconsciously. One of the galleries where Holly's work is available claims that he sees his work as simple and unpretentious, not holding any deep hidden messages, but simply representing that which is of interest to him. The gallery goes on to state, however, that the Black Labrador Cross, along with the Black Highland Terrier, have become well-known trademarks of Nick's work. I find it particularly interesting that these two breeds of dog are exceptionally well loved, especially by the British public, and of course with the Black Highland Terrier also being representative of the well-known handbag brand Radley, popular with women of a certain age. Looking at Nick Holly's work, we often see a shirt with a number 8 on the back of it, two dogs, cartoon-like cats, a muted blue palette with a splash of red making an appearance, sometimes from pillar boxes and sometimes from double-decker buses. His beach scenes feature promenades, golden sands, the crash and ripple of waves, and boats appearing on the sea. His work acts as an historical record of the intimate interaction between ordinary people in the streets of Swansea and way beyond, giving a personal perspective that is undoubtedly coloured by the artist's own value system and social background. We must also recognise that the interpretation of these works depends on the value system and social background of the viewer, and in achieving a loyal following of patrons and supporters, Nick has quite obviously, but possibly subconsciously, identified both his tribe and his market segment. Some of Nick's paintings in my home feature the character Mr. Bojangles. I see him as an inveterate traveller, complete with battered suitcase and well-worn trilby, sometimes taking off his shoes and socks to let the cooling ripples of the sea at his bony feet. Obviously aware of the changeable weather in Wales, green and lush for a very good rainy reason, he sometimes sports a tatty umbrella, which has quite obviously accompanied him on his adventures. Mr. Bojangles appears in many of Holly's more recent works, and the character certainly appears to lend something to the viewer's imagination in terms of the interpretation of his life's narrative. He is what we make him, and in not giving him a firm, documented biography, the artist is allowing the viewer to embroider and create their own storyline for the colourful Mr. B. Chatting to Nick, however, he satisfied my curiosity by telling me a little about the creation and backstory of Mr. Bojangles, which is not altogether aligned with my own fabricated impression. Nick says, "My inspiration for the character came from a real-life gentleman I met when visiting New York in 2007. I was sat eating at a Chinese buffet diner just at the edge of the Brooklyn Bridge when the gentleman walked in. He appeared to be a regular customer and did a comical dance, a shuffle, then doffed his hat and took a bow. He sat with his meal behind me and we exchanged a few polite words. He began to tell me of his working life as a shoeshine boy and man. He was in his later years, 80 plus, tall, thin, African-American, with a shabby suit jacket, non-matching trousers, a trilby hat and shoes of well-worn leather. The character Mr. Bojangles instantly came to mind, and I've used him in many of my paintings, particularly the New York City scenes." Mr. Bojangles figures prominently in a painting which takes pride of place in my home, Scrinkle Bay. The story that this painting tells me is of a day out at the sea, a place near Manorbier in West Wales, the location of many happy childhood holidays for me. I can almost feel the seawater tangles in my hair, taste the salt spray on my face, and hear the shrieks of the seagulls and the children playing on the sand. It's my childhood on canvas. Again, it tells a story, but it is the embedding of this painting within my own memories that create my story around the painting. Nick's trademarks are there. The number 8, Mr. Bojangles, the splash of red, the blue palette. It's his story of Scrinkle Bay combined with my story that makes this painting so special to me. And perhaps this is the genius of Nick Holly, telling his story, which has so many cultural touchpoints that are shared with his audience, allowing the merging of the two narratives, one from the artist, one from the viewer, to create that story with elements of the artist's brand. Thank you.